Hi, this is Bryce Brackett with Brackett Heating and Air Conditioning, and I'm coming to you to give you some helpful tips about your home comfort. Lately we've been getting a lot of calls with this cold weather about high utility bills, specifically with electric heat and heat pump systems. We've also been hearing noise complaints with heat pumps, and a few people have even called thinking their unit was on fire because they saw smoke coming from it. And so I'm going to address some of these misconceptions with heating and air systems, specifically heat pumps today, and kind of explain to you how a heat pump works. So heat pumps are actually removing heat from the outdoor air and transporting it into your house. Quite the opposite of air conditioning, where it's removing heat from your house and transporting it outside. So air conditioners or heat pumps don't create heat, they just move it from one area to the other. To kind of start out with how air conditioning systems work, air conditioning systems are absorbing heat through an evaporative process into the refrigerant and collecting it and basically pumping it to the outdoor unit where the condenser runs the refrigerant through it and removes the heat. And if you've ever put your hand over the top of an air conditioner in the summer, you've felt hot air, much hotter than the air that's actually outside, and that's the heat being removed from your house. And so in a heat pump, it's actually reversing the flow of that, and it does it through a solenoid valve. So the solenoid valve reverses it, and then it's absorbing heat from the outside air. People say, oh, it can't absorb heat in outside air, it's cold outside, and that is true, but there is heat in the outside air down to negative 460 degrees Fahrenheit, which is absolute zero, and at that point there is no heat to be absorbed. But obviously we never see negative 460. So even at 0 degrees outside, there's still heat in the air that can be absorbed, but heat pumps do lose their efficiency as it gets colder outside, and that's why they install what's called backup heat or auxiliary heat in these systems. These systems have what I call, or how I explain it, is a hair dryer or a toaster. If you've ever looked in the back of a hair dryer and saw that orange coil of wire, that orange coil of wire is a nichrome wire that when electric is applied to it, heats up, and your furnace or your electric furnace has the same heating elements as you have in your hair dryer, and that backs up your heat. So whenever you see your unit smoking or on fire, as some people see, that's a normal process. And so as the unit is running and it's pulling heat out of the outside air, even if it's 40 degrees outside, it's pulling roughly 20 degrees of that heat out of the air so that it can bring it in your house. And when your house is, let's say, 70 degrees, it'll blow out a rough 90-degree temperature out of the registers. By doing that, when it sucks 20 degrees out of the air, if it starts out at 40 and it sucks 20 degrees of that heat out, it's going to blow out about 20-degree air. And so any moisture that's in the air is going to collect on that real cold coil. There are sensors in heat pumps that let the heat pump know that the unit is freezing up and basically ice is forming. And so then the sensors alert the thermostat to turn off. It switches it over back actually in the air conditioning mode, so pull some of the heat from your house to melt that coil off, and that's when you see a unit smoking. It's not actually smoking, it's steaming, and so the coil's getting warm and all the ice on it is melting off. And then heat pumps, a lot of times you'll see a bunch of water down at the base of the heat pump. That is the moisture that had collected and froze, and then it melted off. And so when you see a unit smoking, it's totally normal. One of the other things that heat pumps do is that it gets colder, there's less heat in the outside air to be absorbed. So what they do is they supplement it. And so in super cold weather like what we're experiencing right now, the heat pump will be supplemented with that auxiliary heat that I talked about before. So the heat pump is going to use auxiliary heat when it's in defrost mode to temper the air so it doesn't blow out cold air during that time, and it's also going to use it in super cold temperatures. One of the other things is we hear with heat pumps, oh, my heat pump isn't working, or heat pumps are a cool heat. And one way of thinking that may be a true statement. Heat pumps are going to blow out roughly 90-degree air if they're operating correctly and they're sized correctly for the house, if the house is around 70 degrees. So it can usually warm up that air around 20 degrees, give or take a few degrees. 90-degree air in movement, you know, with a fan behind it blowing it, doesn't feel very warm, whereas gas heat is much warmer and it might blow out 120, 125-degree air. It does feel warm when you stand over a register. Heat pumps often don't feel like that unless the backup heat is on. However, you do not want your backup heat to run unless it absolutely has to, because Auxiliary heat, when you pay for 1 unit of electricity, you get 1 unit of heat out of it. Whereas heat pumps oftentimes have coefficient of performance factors of over 3. And what that means is you pay for 1 unit of electricity and you get over 3 units of heat out of it. So one way to think about it is your heat pump is 300% more efficient than your backup heat. So that's why we want to size systems correctly so that the heat pump can take care of your house and you don't have to use your auxiliary heat as much. So that's going to be all for today. Follow us on Facebook and YouTube for more helpful hints. So thanks a lot.